The first story occurred a few years ago when I was newly pregnant. Although I don't have psychic abilities, my mentor told me I have a weak constitution. This meant that while I couldn't see spirits, I was easily affected by them. I remember it was an ordinary morning when I went out for breakfast with my family. On the way, my mom drove the car to a gas station near our home. Upon arrival, she got off to refuel the car, and my sister went to pick out some snacks. Being pregnant, I didn't want to leave the car and be overwhelmed by the scent of gasoline, so I stayed inside alone. A few seconds after my family left the car, I, sitting in the passenger seat, suddenly felt a pressure on the back seat, as if someone had joined me in the car. I didn't hear the door open, but I still instinctively looked into the back seat to find, unsurprisingly, no one there. I wondered, that's odd. No one's around, and it didn't feel like anyone bumped into the car either. Why is it feeling like the car is being pushed down? Confused, I took a glance at the surroundings and convinced myself that perhaps I was just imagining things. That night, as I was relaxing in bed with my smartphone after a bath, I suddenly felt the ambience around me took a sinister turn. I sat up, leaning against my pillow, and looked around the room. That's when it happened. I heard someone whispering beside my ear from behind me. You might not know it, but have you seen the Korean horror movie, Ganjam Haunted Asylum? In the movie, there was a girl who, after being possessed by a spirit, spoke in a language that wasn't human. It was a jumbled speech delivered at a startling speed, incredibly terrifying. Now, I heard a similar language that didn't belong to humans, a rapid speech, and it was a girl talking. Upon hearing that, I felt a chill running down my spine, and my entire body was breaking into a cold sweat. I was terrified. I was the only one in the room at the time. I had no idea what to do. This was the first time I'd been so close to something non-human. Since I was sitting in bed, my back against the pillow and the head of the bed against the wall, I thought about the entity and wondered, how could anything possibly be behind me at the moment? With that thought, I slowly turned my head to look at my wardrobe. The material of my wardrobe had a reflective surface, in which I saw a ghostly woman sitting on my shoulder. With her head bowed, she was whispering into my ear. The moment I saw this, I became paralyzed, unable to move a muscle. At this very moment, my mother seemed to sense something. She opened my room door and asked me whether I was okay. The moment my mom opened the door, I found myself being able to move again. I told her about the incident. That night, I moved to my mom's room for the night since my dad and my husband were not home. The next day, which was the weekend, my mother took me to one of her friends, who was a spiritual mentor. I explained to the mentor about my experience. The mentor said, during pregnancy, one's body is more vulnerable to attract unfavorable entities. The yang energy of the baby in your belly is very potent, so the spirit was simply attracted to you and means you no harm. Don't worry, it left you last night. I felt a lot more at ease after hearing what the mentor had to say. The second tale involves the most terrifying encounter in my life. Several years after I had my child, we moved to a new home in a 35-story building with 2 below-ground parking floors. While equipped with comprehensive facilities, this building was notorious for its malfunctioning elevator, frequently trapping people mid-ride. The elevator issue, a major headache for the residents, emerges in this tale. perhaps foretelling what was coming next. A strange incident occurred on the day we moved in. My sister and I took the elevator to pick up some delivered food. We pressed the button for the ground floor, and the elevator started descending slowly. Suddenly, we noticed the elevator skipped the ground floor and kept going until it reached the below-ground parking floors. As we wondered what was happening, the elevator doors sluggishly opened. The underground parking level was not fully furnished at that time, nor were the lights installed. As the elevator doors opened, we were greeted by utter darkness with an exit faintly lit by green light. Both of us got a fright, but thankfully, the elevator doors closed quickly. We figured it was just a glitch, so we didn't bother too much about it. A few days after settling into our new home, however, a significant incident occurred one late night at around 4 a.m. as I was burning the midnight oil for work. Our building's stairwell doors had rather loud latches, and at one point, I heard a loud bang. I thought someone had slammed the stairwell door, and I thought to myself, "It's so late. Aren't they afraid of disturbing others?" The next morning, I went out to buy some household necessities. My parking spot was on the second basement level. Upon returning, I called the elevator from the parking area. Soon, the elevator arrived. It was empty. I stepped inside, pressed the button for my floor, and stood in a corner, waiting for the elevator door to close. As the door started shutting, a sudden bang echoed, as if something was stuck. The door jolted and began to slide open again. I looked outside, but saw no one entering. I stayed in my corner, waiting for the doors to close once more. Just as the doors were about to shut fully, there was another bang. The doors jolted and slid open again, but there was no person or object in sight. This unusual occurrence left me petrified. Staring at the vacant elevator entrance, I was too terrified to move or press the close button. I held my breath, hoping the doors would shut properly on the next try. Finally, on the next try, the doors managed to close fully. As soon as the elevator arrived at my floor, I scurried out as fast as I could. Back home, my family saw me panting heavily and asked me what happened. Just as I was about to recount my eerie experience, they interrupted.
"Did you know that someone jumped off our building last night?"
I replied in shock. "What?" They continued, "Yes, it happened between 3 and 4 a.m. Someone heard a loud bang and woke up. And looking over to the 7th floor, they saw the body lying in the children's play area. That's when they immediately called the police. It wasn't until then that I realized the bang I heard when I was working late was not from the door of the staircase, but from the person deciding to end his life. The very elevator I had ridden was the one used by medical personnel when they transported the deceased downstairs. Could it be that the object the elevator doors had struck was the departed spirit trying to enter from outside? If you want to see my videos faster, please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates.